哇！真係我都唔知係 YouTube 問題啊，定係 OBS 問題咧？佢運作唔到係完全冇解釋嘅，而家係即係以前都話斷線，以前都會 show 俾你講斷線，雖然都已經係斷得好得意啦。而家係唔 show 俾你睇斷線，但係總之咧就 stream 唔到，原因不明。係翻返嚟睇呢個希臘歷史啦。頭先玩咗一小段，而家玩翻頭先嗰節。哎呀，翻返嚟呢度，係喎，佢有套 save。Suggested tour，唔係跟翻我而家個，唔係跟翻我而家個流程。
Welcome to Amphipolis, traveler. The Battle of Amphipolis was surely an interesting one. One might even call it anticlimactic. But that does not mean it wasn't important in the greater scheme of the Peloponnesian War. The city of Amphipolis was the site of one of the more unique battles of the Peloponnesian War. Two generals, the Athenian Cleon and the Spartan Brasidas, fought for this land in an effort to control the resources it provided. In the end, though, neither got what they wanted. Look for me when you finish your visit, and we can speak of what you've learned.
即係 Brasidas 咧，其實係一個歷史人物嚟嘅。我之前一直以為佢係遊戲創作出嚟嘅人。
The land that would come to be known as Amphipolis was originally part of Thrace, a region inhabited by formidable semi-nomadic horsemen. Thrace was rich in gold and silver mines. It was surrounded by lush forests, making it very attractive to outside parties like Greece and Persia. By 513 BCE, Persia had managed to conquer much of Thrace. But after their defeat in 479 BCE, Athens made a play for the land. They conquered the nearby island of Thasos in 465 BCE. But the military prowess of the Thracian riders kept them out of the country's interior. It was only in 436 BCE that Athens established a solid foothold in Thrace with the founding of Amphipolis, a city on the banks of the river Strymon.
咁《Odyssey》個時間點咧就係公元前431年至422年嘅。你睇到現代其實乜都冇嘅地方，即係我覺得古代好多資源咧，去到現代係俾人掘晒啦，或者啲樹林之類都係唔見晒。Resource rich region。真係睇而家幅相，真係覺得乜都冇。
During the Peloponnesian War, the Spartan general Brasidas sought a way to subvert Athenian power across the Greek world. he set his sights on capturing the coast of Thrace, hoping to seize the resources the area provided. Brasidas knew that many of the Greeks living in Thrace hated the greed and brutality of their Athenian neighbors and decided to take advantage of the situation. He set off on an expedition to Amphipolis, accompanied by 1,000 hoplites and 700 helots, and arrived before the city in the winter of 424 BCE. At Amphipolis' ramparts, Brasidas announced that he preferred to take the city peacefully and promised to allow safe passage to any inhabitants who wished to leave, in addition to sparing those who wanted to cooperate. This proposal was well received by the city's residents, and he was able to capture Amphipolis without striking a single blow.
呢個其實係雅典嘅城市嚟嘅。即係覺得傭兵好似即係歷史上好似中世紀先比較聽得多啲，即係唔知啊，真係唔知希臘時代係有呢種職。希臘係真係有傭兵嘅，查翻 Wikipedia 就知啦。Many Greek mercenaries fought for the Persian Empire during the early classical era. 你波斯帝國打希臘嘅時候可以請到希臘嘅傭兵。其實有啲城邦係想同波斯合作嘅，咁佢剩低抵抗嗰啲城邦先同波斯打仗。羅馬時代就係請外邦人嚟做士兵，咁嗰啲其實都算傭兵嚟嘅，因為俾錢請翻嚟嘅職業士兵。我冇睇到呢段，睇咗。
Brasidas' march on Amphipolis blindsided the Athenians. By the time they heard the news and dispatched the general Thucydides to defend Amphipolis, Brasidas had already rallied several nearby cities to help him defend the region from Athens' so-called tyranny. After half a day's journey from Thasos, Thucydides arrived at the port of Aeon, but was unable to retake Amphipolis. Athens held Thucydides responsible for the loss of Amphipolis and forced the general into exile.
有關佢事。
In spite of Brasidas' achievements, Sparta did not send him reinforcements, which forced the general to negotiate a truce with Athens to hold on to the ground he gained.
兩邊嘅行動都係一個謎團嚟。咁當然啦嚇，斯巴達要送啲兵去嗰度都幾困難嘅嚇，要經海路的話。淨係靠銀同埋金係生活嘅呢個地方係可以。咁嗰陣嘅貿易都相當發達。
The matter of how to deal with Amphipolis divided Athens. The politician Nicias, as well as the city of Sparta, hoped that peace could be negotiated. However, the popular Athenian statesman and general Cleon wanted to continue fighting the war. Indecision continued until 422 BCE, when Cleon was elected as one of Athens' strategists. This decision made it clear that the city's people were in favor of war. The truce was ended, and Cleon began his journey to Amphipolis, retaking small towns that had been conquered by Brasidas along the way. On arriving at the port of Aeon, Cleon requested troops from the king of Macedonia. He also hired several Thracian mercenaries to bolster his force's numbers. Afterwards, all Cleon could do was wait for the remainder of his reinforcements.
咁邊個死咗呢？喺 Odyssey 嘅故事入面就係 Brasidas 同埋 Cleon 都係死咗。我發現佢啲圖片已經同個歷史事件冇關係。Parians. Okay.有冇任何紫色嘅地方？前面先有。
While they waited, the Athenian forces began to resent Cleon's hesitation to attack. They saw him as soft and incompetent, especially compared to their opponent, Brasidas. Sensing the tension, Cleon decided to act without waiting for reinforcements to arrive. He set out from the port of Aeon to observe Amphipolis, setting up a camp on a nearby hill. To Cleon's surprise, Amphipolis appeared to be completely unprotected, with no guards stationed at the city's gates and ramparts. However, the city's lack of protection was only an illusion. Even so, upon seeing this, Cleon regretted that he did not bring wooden towers, which would have allowed him to easily recapture the city.
即係開始興起傭兵，而唔係喺自己城市度徵兵。
Brasidas positioned his own troops in a nearby wooded area to get a better view of Cleon's army. When the Athenians began moving to set up camp, Brasidas returned to Amphipolis. He believed his army was less well-trained than the Athenians and decided to rely instead on cunning tactics and Cleon's inexperience as a military leader. Brasidas organized a two-prong attack. He would personally lead a small raid, then one of his lieutenants would follow up with a second attack shortly after, disorienting the enemy. He had barely finished formulating his plan when he saw Cleon's army pack up and retreat back towards the coast. The cowardly display made Brasidas realize that perhaps victory would be easier than he thought.
咁嘅樣嘅，佢因為隻眼係有放其他嘢啊，唔係呢個係 copy 嚟嘅啫。佢點解要留空隻眼？Of a Greek general 呢個就唔係 Brasidas 嚟嘅。OK， 應該講啲船呢個，因為啲盾。咁嘅款。 嗯哼，其實最近 YouTube 都有啲人做過啲測試，係的確係直接被打穿嘅啲盾。如果用弓嚟射，你用弓嚟射過你的話，但係一般嚟講，通常手持嘅武器都係對盾冇咩效果。真係幾神奇啊！你掟一支矛出嚟個威力其實係高過你手持嗰啲槍嚟刺人哋。
After seeing Brasidas' troops return to Amphipolis, Cleon decided to fall back to the port of Aeon and once again wait for reinforcements. Unfortunately, his exact orders were confusing and contradictory, which left the Athenian forces in disarray. Brasidas took advantage of this confusion and began his attack. Cleon's forces panicked, which made them easy prey for the Spartans. 600 Athenians were killed, while the Spartans only lost 7 men. Cleon's remaining forces took refuge in Aeon, where the bodies of their comrades were eventually returned to them, though only after being stripped of their weapons.
咁冇理由連啲武器都還埋俾你㗎？呢個又係真跡嚟。其實啲細節都幾靚，佢哋靠作出嚟，連啲布嘅紋理都睇得到。同埋你可以假設佢係俾佢經過2800年嘅侵蝕咧，係啲細節會唔見咗一啲。一啲同照片係完全一樣嘅，其實連胡鬚啲紋理都出埋嚟。你完全講唔到同一個真人嘅比例上有啲咩差距，係冇乜差距嘅。既然係咁，一齊睇解。
During the pitched battle between the Spartans and the Athenians, both Brasidas and Cleon were killed. The reports of their respective deaths reflect how they were perceived as military leaders. We know almost nothing about Cleon's death, other than that he was killed by a Thracian soldier. Brasidas, meanwhile, survived long enough to be taken back to Amphipolis, where he was informed of his victory. He was buried inside the city, which was considered an honor bestowed only upon heroes, and was celebrated as the true founder of Amphipolis.
OK， 難怪，即係布拉斯特係一定要死嘅，因為佢係一個歷史人物嚟。我原本以為救到，我原本以為佢係故事人物嚟，唔係喎，佢的確係可以請翻嚟喺打爆機之後，係咯。呢幅係2019畫嘅。
The Battle of Amphipolis temporarily put an end to the hostilities between Athens and Sparta. The Athenian forces returned to Piraeus, while Sparta called back the reinforcements they'd sent for Brasidas. The death of both Brasidas and Cleon encouraged the two cities to push for peace. The negotiations took time, but Sparta and Athens eventually agreed to return to the way things were before the Peloponnesian War. The resulting treaty became popularly known as the Peace of Nicias. Throughout the Greek world, it was mostly agreed that Sparta had lost the war, in spite of Brasidas' heroic efforts. The sentiment was rooted in the fact that Sparta had failed to end Athens' domination over Greece, something they had promised to do at the start of the war.
係啦，過咗幾廿年啦。太遠啦。 睇地圖係唔會揾到嘅呢個。羅浮谷。有 hand grip 嘅啲槍，通常用槍都唔會固定到一個位嘅。如果雙手單手係有機會。其實可以用另一個 Why Discovery Sites 啊，好難下喎呢隊。腳好似都好容易被攻擊。OK， 成套盔甲係有名嘅。Hop 嚟啲個兵種應該唔止斯巴達用。OK， 係向前彎嘅。有好多唔同形狀嘅武器啊！嚇，隨便拼，我諗而家啲人係真係有整，係真係有整一個呢個裸體嘅胸口咁嘅形狀出嚟嘅佢哋。我覺得有少少解釋到點解啲超級英雄啊之類嘅裝扮係咁樣，係件緊身衣，其實應該係件盔甲先啦，因為緊身衣咧都唔合理嘅。咁之後應該睇埋下場戰役。
I see you're done with your tour. The Battle of Amphipolis may have briefly put an end to the Peloponnesian War, but the so-called Peace of Nikias was only temporary. It would not be long before Sparta and Athens came to blows once again. Now, is there something else you'd like to do? Feeling up to a test? Then let us begin. Which Athenian politician wanted to negotiate peace with Sparta? Correct. Nicias wanted to build on the truce that was negotiated after Brasidas captured Amphipolis. Now for the second question. Where did Thucydides and Cleon arrive before moving to retake Amphipolis? Yes, Ion is where both Thucydides and Cleon's forces arrived before trying to retake the city. I have one last question for you. Amphipolis was located in which region? Yes, Amphipolis was located in Thrace. It seems there's nothing I can ask that you cannot answer. Congratulations, traveler.
點解可以讀 Flaky 嘅同時有讀 Thrace 嘅？唉，有冇啲標準發音嘅？
Your eagerness for more knowledge is admirable. Follow me, traveler.
Mm-hmm. 我都覺得喺呢度嘅下一場戰役，呢個係咩戰役咧？What now?
Welcome to Pylos, traveler. This area, along with the nearby island of Sphacteria, were important battlegrounds during the Peloponnesian War. I always find it a shame that such lovely-looking places were exposed to so much violence. It's difficult to take pleasure in relaxing on the sand, knowing how stained it is with blood.
呢啲係咪真係希羅多德講嘅嘢嚟㗎？
The Peloponnesian War was a great conflict between rivals Sparta and Athens. It lasted many years and cost a great number of lives on both sides. The battles of Pylos and Sphacteria occurred almost one after the other, and culminated with one of the most surprising outcomes in the entire war. But I will not spoil it for you. You'll have to experience it on your own. I'll wait for you at the end of the tour.
中間隔咗5年以上咯。喺遊戲入面幾乎係2場同時發生嘅事件咧。
Since 431 BCE, the Peloponnesian War had been raging between Athens, Sparta, and their allies, with neither side gaining much ground. But in 425 BCE, an Athenian general named Demosthenes changed that. After a storm forced his fleet to stop in Pylos, Demosthenes realized a military presence in the area would give them an advantage against Sparta. Unfortunately, the fleet strategists did not believe him, and left Demosthenes in Pylos with 5 triremes and 1,000 men. The Spartans, meanwhile, were too busy celebrating a religious festival to notice the enemy on their doorstep.
好近咩？呢個唔係好近啫喎。咁到底係邊場仗打先？呢區冇任何 discovery sites，可以直接跑。
Once Sparta discovered the Athenian presence on Pylos, the Spartan king Agis mustered his troops and fleet. Sparta then descended on Demosthenes' outpost, attacking from both the sea and the mainland. The Athenian general had to mount a hasty defense. He pulled his boats back to the foot of the ramparts and fixed them in place with stakes, providing extra cover. Then, going against all the established rules of battle, he descended with his hoplites to fight on the rocky shore, where he believed the Spartans would disembark. His gamble paid off, and the Spartans did indeed attempt to land at this location, though Demosthenes' forces made them hesitate. One of the Spartan leaders, Brasidas, decided to make the first move by ramming the rocks with his boat, exclaiming, "It's only a few planks." He paid for his actions when his shield slipped into the sea after descending from his boat, leaving him open to many blows. The battle raged on into the night and continued to the next day, remaining locked in a stalemate. However, on the evening of the second day, Athenian reinforcements arrived.
呢場係早過之前嗰場。因為我玩個遊戲都已經係好多個月前嘅事啦，我記得。其實呢個可能佢畫就係畫裸體，但係 OK。如果淨係睇個上半身，其實係有機會着住盔甲嘅，因為個盔甲同一個裸體嘅身體係一模一樣嘅喎。 OK，竟然俾個城牆打低，因為冇咩工程設備啊，喺嗰個年代，起咗城牆真係冇得打，笑咗。即係佢哋啲武藝再強都係對人嘅啫，最多。
The sudden arrival of the Athenian fleet stacked the odds in Athens' favor. The fleet decided to hold off their attack until the next day, when they swarmed the Spartan ships. They successfully captured 5 enemy ships and damaged many others, cutting off access to the nearby island of Sphacteria. Then, to add insult to injury, the Athenians raised a stake hung with weapons they'd captured from the Spartans, including the shield of Brasidas. Meanwhile, the 420 Spartans on Sphacteria were trapped, and Sparta was completely helpless to rescue them.
420都幾少人，你諗下，打一場仗得嗰幾百人。得個幾公里長，得個幾公里長可以打到海戰。19世紀初同一戰、二戰啲標準係好唔同，一戰、二戰係要幾十個炮嘅射程都有幾十公里。佢個海灣係指邊個海灣？其實呢度應該唔係啊，喺呢度啊。的確未進入工業革命之前，啲船啲炮啲射程都係二三百米左右嘅，幾公里係要你隻船要向前行先可以打到人。
With 420 of their men trapped on Sphacteria, Sparta needed to reevaluate their position. The Spartans on the island were essentially the Athenians' hostages, and Sparta could not move to rescue or resupply them without putting their lives in danger. In an effort to save the trapped soldiers, the Spartan leadership negotiated an immediate truce with the Athenian strategists. Sparta agreed to hold back its fleet and halt their attacks on Pylos. And in return, the Athenians permitted them to send supplies to their men. In the meantime, Sparta sent ambassadors to Athens to try and negotiate a better deal. The hasty truce greatly humiliated Sparta, as they were forced to recognize just how helpless their infantry was in the face of an Athenian fleet.
佢又唔趁機反擊。
To bargain for the safety of their men, Sparta sent ambassadors to Athens to propose a cessation of hostilities. The ambassadors tried to emphasize that their situation was not a result of strategic incompetence or lack of strength, but rather plain bad luck. According to them, the Spartans on Sphacteria did not deserve to suffer further, because they were trapped through no fault of their own. These statements provoked the ire of Cleon, a popular Athenian politician known for his populist speeches. Cleon insisted that the terms of negotiations be discussed openly before the assembly and the Athenian people, instead of in private. The Spartan ambassadors were not as comfortable with public speaking as the Athenians, so they decided to leave.
咁戲劇性啊！雅典嘅標誌係咪真係貓頭鷹？定係 Ubisoft 作出嚟？2017年個樣係有少少改變。殺晒嗰個地區啲人冇意義㗎啦，古代嚟講，冇人就冇勞動力。
Following the failed attempts of the Spartan ambassadors, hostilities resumed. Back in Athens, Cleon took matters into his own hands. After being elected general, or strategos, he left to join the ongoing battle, accompanied by javelin-armed infantry and archers. With renewed strength and numbers, the Athenians landed on Sphacteria and engaged their enemy. The battle was hard fought, but they eventually managed to surround the remaining Spartans. It was then that Cleon invited the Spartans to surrender, as he hoped to return to Athens with prisoners. The Spartans were exhausted after spending 72 days on the island, so they accepted Cleon's offer and laid down their arms. A Spartan capitulation had previously been unheard of, and the news of their surrender echoed throughout Greece like thunder.
420人你諗翻起希波戰爭嘅時候，300人擋住咗波斯大軍，雖然最後全部死晒，好戲劇性喎！呢場戰爭極度戲劇性。因為混合兵種係非常非常重要。睇地形啦，喺溫泉關嗰度，佢咪淨係靠重裝步兵打贏。其實波斯都係混合兵種。 但係喺開放地形係冇可能輸嘅波斯嘅人數。
The Spartans' capitulation completely changed the course of the Peloponnesian War. Athens used their new prisoners of war as leverage and threatened to execute them if Sparta ever returned to pillage their lands. This gave the Athenians the freedom to conduct their own raids, which were aided further by their eventual seizing of the island of Kythera. Sparta tried to negotiate for peace, but were unsuccessful. Cleon, meanwhile, was emboldened by his victory and continued to gain popularity with the Athenian people. Popularity that translated to power.
已經係幾年之後嘅事，已經係4年之後嘅事，差唔多。
I hope you enjoyed learning about the battles of Pylos and Sphacteria. The battles were hard fought by both sides, but Athens' victory gave them an enormous boost in morale. It encouraged them to be more aggressive, and it was some time before Sparta recovered from the aftershocks of their historic surrender. Now, is there anything else you'd like to do? I'm happy to oblige. Let's begin. Where were Demosthenes and his fleet forced to land during a storm? Yes, Demosthenes landed at Pylos, where he was inspired to set up an outpost. On to the second question. Which famous Athenian argued with the peace-seeking Spartan ambassadors?
你講多次。
Which famous Athenian argued with the peace-seeking Spartan ambassadors? Correct. Cleon demanded the terms of the peace be discussed in front of the Athenian assembly, which greatly dissuaded the ambassadors. One last question. Which Spartan general rammed Pylos with his ship? Correct. Brasidas ordered his ship to ram the rocks and lost his shield in the process. You've passed the test. Well done, traveler. I admire your desire for more knowledge. Follow me.
又嚟返奧運會嘅係。Real fictional. You got fictional. 呢個係 real 嘅，我估唔到一個真正嘅角色會喺個故事佔咁重氣氛。 Tira 邊個地方嘅咧？冇咩印象。因為依度要寫 fiction 22分鐘，不如喺度完。